mine, so I'm really excited for that. And we want to thank you, R30 Agency, for all of your support. If you are watching, we would right now live, we ask you to share the show with your friends, hit the like button, get our voices out there, help us get the word out there. If you would like to support us, you can drop us a Rumble rant or a super chat, which we will definitely read, right,
yes,
Abby?
we will.
And you can also go to our website, linked below, to support us. If you are a business that would like to get your business, or a candidate that would like to get your name out there, then you can support our show. Or if you would like to just give us a donation, you can do that there as well. So I think those are all the announcements, right?
I think the housekeeping done is done.
Housekeeping is done. All right. So we're going to jump right into it with Torey, and let's get started. So what is your job and who are you?
Sure. Well, first of all, I am excited to be here this evening. And to all of those that may be listening. So I'm Torey Alston, school board member representing District 2. So excited to be
in which county?
Broward County. I should have said, the school board. Broward County.
Representing
the nation's 6th largest school district, by the way.
Yes.
6th largest.
6th largest.
Is that by population of students, or is that by, okay.
Number of students.
Number of students. How many students do you have?
Close to 260,000.
260,000.
So almost there.
Man, I thought Palm Beach County was huge. We had like 170.
I'm pushing. So if we keep pushing the right way, we can continue to grow. But
all right.
I'm sure we'll talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so serving on the school board, I've also been on the county commission. Glad to have served with several great colleagues there. I was appointed by the governor also for that role. I've been chair of the school board during a time that I call the reform board, where we had a solid 5 reform-minded individuals, along with others on the board who occasionally also joined our reform-mindedness.
I have so many questions.
Right? But it's been a great time. I have come to really appreciate public service. I have been on the FAMU Board of Trustees. I was originally appointed by a former governor when I was at the age of 25. So the youngest appointee at that time. I think I served for 6 years. I've worked in some capacity for the last several governors in different capacities. Most recently, serving as chief of staff for the Florida Department of Transportation. 6,000 plus employees,
wow,
$12 billion
well-rounded career.
agency. And of course, now I'm actually the interim executive director of GMX, which is the Greater Miami Expressway Agency, formerly MDX. For all of the state expressways down in Miami-Dade and now Monroe County, that is my day-to-day job. So it's exciting working in Miami-Dade and Monroe County, and of course, serving in this capacity the people of Broward.
Awesome. I don't even know where to start. That's a lot. Okay, so we'll talk about what you're doing right now, and then we can kind of roam backwards if we want. So school board. So did you ran for school board? Because I know there were a lot of appointments, or did you get appointed to school board, or both?
So I was originally appointed to the school board, and literally I think 3-4 days later there was an election. I was elected by the board to serve as the board chair.
Okay.
Still serving on the board through November of 2024.
Okay. And then do you plan to run for re-election?
So that is an excellent question.
Okay. All right.
I know the listening audience wants to know the answer to that, and I have not made that decision. But here's what I'll tell you: many parents, families, elected officials, public officials have said we need a strong voice to remain on the school board. We need a sensible voice to remain on the school board. And we need someone really who understands how to bring together really all sides, all factions, but also isn't afraid to stand up, say the right thing, do the right thing, even as, and Abby and others will know this, even when I vote no, right? I'm okay standing alone. I did it on the county commission. Unfortunately, I'm not always alone on the school board. I have, I call it the triple threat of our caucus, who typically will join me on many of these key decisions and votes. But overall, I mean, I think I have great colleagues on the school board collectively. I think all 9 heart is in the right place.
So there's 9 members on the Broward School Board.
9 members on the Broward School Board. You know, I think we may differ on how we get to the end goal. But collectively, I think overall, 90%, we're generally in the same ballpark.
Okay. All right. So what's the Broward County School Board budget?
So we have a $6 billion budget, if I just approximate, which includes all federal funds and other funding sources for the district. But I think what's the bigger footnote for the listening audience is we probably have close to $3 billion of unmet facilities needs. So when you look at all of our facilities, whether it's on the east side of town, west, north, south, central part of Broward Schools, we have so many unmet needs. Clearly, the voters passed a bond referendum several years back.
Okay.
I think we're still trying to turn some of that around. We've seen a lot of changes with our recent members of the school board. Thank goodness. I think there was a different iteration of the board that the governor had to remove. Several
which
members.
I do want to talk about that.
So,
why did he remove the members? What was there's always, we'll talk about it, but what was the official reason?
Yeah, so there were 18 members of a grand jury that was in panel that looked at a series of issues.
Okay.
I think school safety, clearly the tragedy that occurred at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, along with the litany of past issues, which included the bond deals and capital projects historically that have always had issues in Broward County Public Schools. So I think those individuals spent about 2 years really diving into a lot of information. I've read the 100-plus pages. I actually just talked about it on Tuesday during our board meeting on another topic that came up. I think all the board members have clearly read it. Hopefully they did, right, from page 1 all the way to the end. But it was not a pretty report. So I think that led to the governor removing 4 members of the school board, although 5 members were mentioned in that grand jury report. And of course, ultimately, that's why I am now on the school board. So with that as a backdrop, for me, having an eye towards reform, having an eye towards making sure if I see something that says 1 + 1 = 3, we got a problem.
Right.
And I'm always typically the one on the board who will absolutely call it out all the time, every time.
And you're so polite when you do it.
I
mean,
try to be.
It's like you're so level, just no drama. It's just like, hey,
this is a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Folks try to get me rattled, but I think only my wife can do that. Nobody else.
It's the way it should be.
That's right.
Exactly. Okay. I mean, if you guys have questions, jump in. I just have. Okay.
You're doing great.
Thanks.
So one of our viewers said that's $23,000 per student per year in the budget. Is that justified? Is that a justified number?
Well, so I'll tell you, literally right before joining, this conversation, I just had a call with someone who asked about additional raises for all employees. I had to remind that individual, actually a member, actually an employee with the district, the board just voted on raises for all of its employees. But separate from that, I want to make sure that from a financial perspective that we're doing all the right things, because I am unfortunately afraid of what's to come. There have been past decisions by prior boards that we have absorbed. That I think if we don't get things turned around, we're going to be looking at a very, ugly financial cliff. And I've been raising the alarm bells since I've been on the board. I think I've gotten at least several of my colleagues to join raising those same alarm bells. But I'm hopeful that a full majority, or really a super majority of the board, will get there, because I see some financial pain coming, and that's
what does that look like, and what's your kind of solution for that, or projection of solution?
Well, I'm not one afraid of bringing ideas and solutions. So literally a couple board meetings ago, I said, hey, here are ways that we can reduce our budget. So the central administration or district central office, depending how you refer to it, I think we could absolutely reduce positions. We could reduce, different buckets of funds that I think could actually be appropriated and allocated elsewhere. I've also said, which the board, I proffered the motion and the board passed, which said that all vacant positions, I want to make sure that we only fill 50% of those, right? So that's being financially prudent. What I also said, which also the board passed, is let's look at what we do in terms of benefits. So the good news is Broward County Public Schools, we are very rich taking care of our employees, which is an absolutely great thing. But because, as you know, the cost of health care, continues to go up, I think we're the only district that in this region that ensures an employee gets 100% of its benefits paid. So that is a great thing for any someone who wants to be an employee with Broward County Public Schools. I'm also going to do that as a public service announcement. But no, that is a strong benefit for Broward County Public Schools. But it's looking at those those areas on how we can rein in and, of course, ensure that our spending is within bounds.
I like that. All right. So is that really $23,000?
$6 billion divided by, what did you say, 200?
Yeah, well, we're probably right at 253,000 students.
Okay.
To be probably a little close. And our numbers, unfortunately, which is all public, I think our enrollment is maybe going down slightly.
So, which brings me to a question. HB1.
Right. Yeah.
All right, school choice bill.
I expected that.
Yeah. So tell us how that impacts you guys.
Sure.
How, and I have a burning question,
Sure.
which how the budgets are allocated. So most people know my kids do take advantage of the school choice program. They go to a private school.
Yes.
And from my understanding is that funding is coming from, I mean, it's all of our tax dollars,
Sure.
but where is it, how is it being allocated and where is it coming from?
Yeah.
So it's coming from state funding. And so then the counties, like what I'm paying in school taxes is still going to the pot for the schools, public schools, but my children are not receiving that back. That's going into the public schools. Is that the way that it works, or is any of the funding from public school budgets going towards any of the school choice bills funding?
Fair question. So let me try to divide the two.
Okay.
So HB1, House Bill 1 was an initiative by the legislature, signed into law by the governor, which expanded school choice for all families statewide. So before that bill was passed and signed into law, there was a restriction on which families could actually go after school choice opportunities. The bill actually said, well, there are no longer income restrictions or requirements, so it's now open up to the full universe. So good news is we saw probably 300,000 plus really take advantage of the school choice opportunity. I think when the legislature contemplated it, for those who may have a different opinion of school choice, said that it would bankrupt public schools. That hasn't happened. I think all of our 67 school districts are still alive and well and thriving today, including Broward schools. Now, to your first point or question around enrollment, we've seen a slight tick off in terms of our number of students in the district. Primarily, I think some for homeschooling, maybe a few kind of to charter schools. Some of that might have been as a result of HB1, but it wasn't a drastic impact to the Broward.
It wasn't like you were losing kids right and left or anything, which is what they were all predicting was going to happen.
It wasn't a 10,000 student exodus.
Yeah.
Now, to the question around funding, and this is, and for my public officials and for those that may be listening from the Tri-County area, that's always the conversation in terms of funding. Larger counties typically, which may be different than a Dixie County or a Sumter County or a Holmes County in North Florida, typically have a larger funding pot and available funds for all of its, in this case, we're talking about schools, but just its taxing authorities.
Right.
So yes, typically they're smaller counties sometimes depend on larger counties. So that's always the discussion. I don't want to call it a fight, but discussion in Tallahassee, right?
But it was also an argument raised at the school board budget meeting in September.
That's right.
Why we can't lower our millage rate, the discretionary rate, because the smaller counties depend on funding from the larger counties.
And as you know,
how much money? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, as you know, Abby knows this. I proffered a motion because I thought that, you know what, the rent is just too doggone high for folks. Right? Costs are just too doggone high, and folks who are listening probably can say amen.
I'll say amen.
There you go. Right? So I proffered a motion that got second, and unfortunately didn't pass, to lower the millage rate for Broward County Public Schools. I tried twice, and I even came back with a lower number, but my colleagues just wouldn't bite. But I think that, unfortunately, we're getting to a point where the fiscal cliff is very close. I think it's nearsighted. There are a lot of things that I am aware of that we've talked about openly. There are probably some things that we have learned as board members that we can't talk about openly. So I just want to make sure, as a member of the board, that I am balanced, that we are, number one, making sure our students get all that they need in our classroom so they can achieve. Two, that they are safe, right? So clearly any parent, as I am, when I send my son or daughter or nephews or someone to a school site, they need to come home in the afternoon, in the evening, right? That is our ultimate responsibility as a board, as a district, and of course the superintendent and his team. And let me actually take this time to commend the district administration. I mean, they work countless hours. We have school board meetings that last 23 hours.
23 hours.
Well, I'm exaggerating, but 12, 13, 14 hours, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Is it because you have so much public comment and people there who want to speak, or is it discussion amongst the board?
Well, it's
or both.
It's probably that, but it's also, look, I've been on the county commission.
Yeah.
The county is well run. By the way, Monica, if you're listening, great county administrator, deputy administrator, and team. But our meetings used to last 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we get things done for the county.
Sounds like a Boca City Council meeting.
Right.
Boca City Council. I was in a Boca City Council meeting that was 10 hours.
Broward County Schools, I mean, unfortunately, so I think you all know this. I used to be the student member on the school board 20 plus years ago. Those meetings lasted 9-10 hours then. They're still lasting the same now.
Goodness
But guess what? When I was chair of the board, some of that changed.
Yes.
But anyway, I won't talk about that. But anyway, yeah.
Okay, so back to the funding. So as any of our tax dollars, so I just want to make sure I'm clear. So none of our tax dollars that we pay at a county level are going into the school choice funding pool. Is that correct?
If your question is the funds that follow the child, right? So the district receives an allocation for every student.
From the state?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. That allocation follows the child, whether they're in a public school, a charter school, or a private school.
Okay.
So that allocation, so just using HB1 as an example, that approximate $8,000 per child follows the student wherever he or she is.
Okay, from the state.
That is
so
correct.
So children going
through the state, the district, kind of all bucket.
A whole bucket. Okay,
That's right.
So children who are not, so like, again, I'll use my kids as an example.
Yes.
My kids have never been in the public school system.
Yes.
So, but so some of my tax dollars that are going in to pay for schools is going to
Yes.
to that.
To the public school.
To the public school, yes.
That's
so
correct.
Is going to the public school, but then but some of that is going to the student because of the allocation from the state.
That is correct,
Okay.
which was the argument, and I'm not a legislator, but that was the legislature's discussion, right?
Okay,
So because the child is either in public or private or charter, that fund or those dollars should follow the child. Because as a taxpayer, right, you're paying something, and that those funds should follow the child regardless of public, private, or charter.
All right, cool. Okay, that was one of my big burning questions.
It's a great question.
Because I was like, because my kids have been in that program since when it was still Step Up.
That's
before
right.
it went to. So
that's right.
I've always been curious how that all worked.
That's right.
Okay. So you guys
Step Up, great organization.
Yeah,
I know the
been great.
team, know the CEO, and the different folks. Yeah, Step Up is great.
Step Up's been we've been easy to work with. And
Yes.
they've been great. So
absolutely.
What's the biggest challenge that you're facing in the school board right now?
So I think the biggest challenge is how do we get back to pre-pandemic academic excellence?
Ooh, I have a question about that when you're done.
Absolutely. So whether I look at a third grader or a fifth grader or an eighth grader, if I look at algebra or English or math, just kind of the basic level, unfortunately, many of our students are not proficient. So if you look at proficiency levels at the key indicators, at the key grade levels, 3rd, 5th, 8th, 10th, unfortunately, when you look at the data, at one level it's 52%. At one level it's about 58%, right? So for me, you know what's most important? Making sure that our kids are learning. Get back to the basics, right? Math, reading, right? Writing, right? Science, social studies. That is what's most important to me. And I've been raising that alarm literally from day one since I was appointed to the board, when I was chair of the board. I think at my first meeting during that workshop, I said, look, we have a learning crisis. And I think the Sun Sentinel at the time, mentioned it. But we should continue to raise alarm bells about the proficiency of our students, whether public, private, or charter, because we want to make sure our students are ready for tomorrow. So that is my biggest alarm bell, I would say, on the board today.
What do you think is keeping those proficiency levels low?
So I think we have to get creative as a system, as a district. I'll tell you, now that HB1 has passed, and many of the listeners will appreciate this, probably over a year ago, I had recommended to the board an idea that said, let's come up with, and I now other states have done this, let's give every family, let's just call it $1,000, right? Let's figure out if those $1,000 can go toward tutoring services for every child, right? That is not proficient on grade level. Unfortunately, there are about 120,000 students, if you look at the entire district, that are not proficient or not on grade level. And that is huge with Broward County Public Schools. So just knowing that data point alone, I wanted to target just those students, just those families, just those parents, just to move the needle. So yes, unfortunately, we are a B district. I'm not excited about that because guess what? We have A students in Broward County. And I want to get us back to being an A school district. I pushed that a year ago on day one when I was chair with a different superintendent. That superintendent, I think, told the board at the time it would take us 7 years to be an A school district. I said, no way. 7 years is not a part of my calculus. So we now have
it's bad math.
The bad math, right?
It's bad math.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's 1 + 1 = 3.
That's right. New superintendent who said, you know what? An A school district is attainable, and we can get it done quickly. So for Superintendent Licata, if you're listening, as a former Palm Beacher, I'll say, right, turn Broward or returning back to Broward. That's right.
Trader. No, I'm just kidding.
But no,
it's a friendly rivalry.
That's right. But no, he has accepted the challenge, and I am hopeful. The board is hopeful, and really the people of Broward are hopeful. Because guess what? Palm Beach is an A.
Oh, are we?
Miami-Dade is an A.
Yeah.
Right? And we're sandwiched right in the middle. So I want to get us back to an A school
healthy
district.
competition.
Absolutely.
That's good.
And we're going to get there.
Awesome. Do you think, so going back to, you mentioned the word pandemic.
Yes.
So do you think a lot of the drop in proficiency in students is due to things like in the pandemic, the school closures, the online learning, the mask mandates, that kind of stuff?
Unfortunately, yes. And I think we've seen that across the nation. So unfortunately, it was not just a Broward issue. It was across the nation, all across Florida. But the good news is, looking at on the positive side, we have now begun to turn the corner in a major way.
Oh, that's good.
Definitely in Broward, even in the state of Florida. And, I give kudos, our governor, legislature, Commissioner of Education, former Senator Manny Diaz, and so many others have really, put the spotlight where it should be. And that's on turning the corner around educational excellence and ensuring that all of our students are achieving. And I would give, special kudos to even the different members of the various caucuses, right, who focus, right? The legislative Black and Hispanic caucus who said, you know what, we want to make sure that our Black and Brown students also don't fall behind, right? So I commend them for that. And many other, stakeholder groups who've done the same.
Interesting. Oh gosh, I had a question that was on that subject. Okay,
you're on a roll.
I have lots of questions.
She always brings all the questions.
I have so many questions. It's how I live my life.
I like it.
Well, I was homeschooled, and so my mom was always like, "You have to ask questions."
That's right.
And so everywhere we went, she was always like, "I have questions,"
Yes.
and she kind of just always taught me just ask a million. And so I do. I always have questions. So turning it more to some of the more let's call them controversial subjects that are hitting the schools. Things like I know right? I know Palm Beach County last night just passed. I'm going to get this wrong.
The
and
LGBTQ,
yes, thank you. That is
proclamation and resolution that
yes.
I think passed unanimously with the Palm Beach School.
Well, that's
District.
because
oh my goodness, yes, I saw it.
the entire Palm Beach School Board is
hardcore woke.
Yes,
different
very.
makeup.
They lie like
Unicorn.
a rug. We were at a meeting yesterday. Jessica and I were at a community meeting yesterday, and one of the school board members, which shall remain nameless in public, but she just says stuff that's a lie. She says that people with HB1, people who just want to buy something, who are homeschooling, can just buy anything. I don't think that's the case. You have to jump through a lot of processes to get it. So she stands there, tells this whole community of people complete and total lies, and then everyone eats it with a spoon. I was like, that's not true. That's a lie. It's not even like you're framing it right one way. You're just flat out lying. But anyway, so let's going into more, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
What's that looking like for you guys?
Well, I'll tell you, and look, I appreciate my colleagues to the south down in Miami-Dade. They followed Broward, who had a strong conservative majority. They now have a conservative majority down in Miami-Dade. And they followed the law. They actually did what, we all took an oath that said we're going to stand up and make sure that we follow the law. 120% they did. So of course those are tough votes, right? I mean, I know folks want to, label things and call people different things. Look, I put that to the side. Miami-Dade schools followed the law. They did not pass now for the second year in a row a resolution, for LGBTQ month. That was not meaning that there is no love, there is no respect, there is no tolerance, there is no inclusion, there is no support for that community. What it said is that we want to make sure that we are not doing something opposite the law. So I commend Miami-Dade for that. Broward, it's a little different story.
All right, tell us what happened.
Oh, much different story. So we've had a series of resolutions. And look, and for those who know and maybe listening, the listening audience, as a lifetime member for me of the NAACP, I grew up in the 33311 here in Broward. So I have my tentacles all across this county, touching all segments of the community. And clearly, if I make a statement, it's probably because I've done some homework and I've thought about it. I've been deliberate, and I'm careful when it comes to making these key decisions. But Broward, there were a series of resolutions that I, too, thought went a little bit over the line. Most recently, one we just did on Tuesday.
Let's talk about that meeting.
Yeah,
so
that went way over the line on Tuesday.
So what was it?
Well, which topic? I mean, we can talk about. Yeah,
I heard there was a few.
If you want to talk sexual education, you want to talk about the street fight? No, I'm joking.
Oh boy.
But no, I mean, I mean, there are
so many questions.
There was something that came to the board that essentially said there was a lesson for ninth graders that talks about blank types of blank. Right? I don't want to say that for the listening audience, or for a different grade level that talks about how to participate in these types of acts.
What grade level?
Oh, well, regardless, the law says it shouldn't be in any grade level between K and 12. So that is very clear. The state law is clear. So that was the first question I asked. Does this go to the state for approval? We know the answer is yes. So I am 120% hopeful, but also sure.
So this is to be put into the curriculum?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so if you look at, for the listening audience, I hope you pull the tape of our Tuesday Broward County School Board meeting as we looked at sexual health curriculum for all public school students in Broward County.
All public school students. So K?
We talked about we looked at the full curriculum from K through 12. And if you look at some of those lessons.
Why is that even a curriculum subject for?
So I will give my school board chair credit. She was the first to read the lesson into the record. Everyone in the room cringed.
Yeah.
I mean, you could hear it.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And they want to teach our kids that.
Which is inappropriate, right?
Very
Absolutely.
inappropriate.
It's totally inappropriate. And any parent, anyone that just has half a brain, right? When you just read what I read, it's very clear.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna go watch that meeting.
Yeah, very clear.
I watched a few of the clips of the public comments.
Oh my gosh.
I watched.
Was there outrage? What was the pulse of the
10.
public? So the public was very much against this.
Well, no.
It was balanced. So
so that's what I want to know. Really?
Yeah, so you had Abby, I defer to you, right? You had a segment who clearly believes that there are things that should be taught in schools regardless of what the subject matter is. Okay, that is one view. Okay, there's another view that says there are certain things that probably should be taught at home. It begins with mommy and daddy, and it's probably best between mommy, daddy, and son or daughter. So those are the two views. So I didn't say Democrat, Republican, conservative, or
right.
liberal,
Well, school board is
or that, right? Because school board's nonpartisan, right? So that is the issue. And to be fair, as you said, Abby, you had those two camps. And when the school board chair read the lesson, which I just blanked out on my own, it made everyone cringe. But then those there was a segment that said, oh, that's okay, right? We don't care. So
are these people parents?
The argument that was voiced by the woman that got arrested Tuesday night.
So someone got arrested.
Yes. Was that we need to teach this so kids can know when they're put in situations what is right and what is wrong.
Right, but that should also be taught at home.
Well,
and the law is very clear that where it can't be taught.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Okay, so why'd she get arrested? I'm just curious.
Well, so in public comments, I'll just say when I served as chair, and even now the current chair, right, you are allowed to express your views openly. I think views were expressed, emotions were high, folks were going to their seats, folks were coming to the microphone. Someone made a comment. I think someone responded. There was a huge, loud outburst. I then said, Madam Chair, we need to recess. We recessed. Immediately upon the recess, there was even louder outbursts. And then the police had to get between a few individuals, which led to the allegation is someone put their hands on the police officer. And, that's a big no-no.
That's kind of,
right?
don't do that.
Yeah.
Come on.
Look,
don't do that.
I'm the son of a law enforcement guy, okay, who's deceased. My dad is deceased. So for me, I am big on safety and security and law enforcement, but follow the rules. Yeah. Right? That's what it is. Yeah. And if you don't follow the rules, then guess what? There's always a consequence.
This is what I tell my kids all the time.
Me too.
Consequences for every action. Good consequences and bad consequences.
That's
the consequence doesn't always have to be a bad thing. It's a result. Consequences is a result. Sometimes they're good. Sometimes they're bad. If you make bad choices, you'll have bad consequences. Some adults apparently haven't learned that.
That's right.
Clearly. Wow. So did you guys come back in?
So yeah, I think the recess, we probably recessed for about 5 minutes. Okay. And then, we were right back at it. But it was a nonstop Donnybrook meeting. So, we did sexual health education. We talked about African-American history instruction. We talked about the
Promise program?
Yeah.
What's the Promise program?
Well, Well, go ahead, Abby.
I would just say that the Promise program is one of the reasons that the Douglas incident happened. It was a program to keep misdemeanors. And I'm paraphrasing here, but basically incidents were swept under the rug in the school system. It wasn't brought to local law enforcement. And so kids were being passed around from different schools when they were a problem. And it wasn't...
Oh, a la what's happening in Loudoun County. What happened in Loudoun County with the student? That type of thing, instead of it being addressed, was just moved to another school. Yeah. Okay. Not obviously exact same situation, but similar concept.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the grand jury report talked about the Promise program, right? Mm-hmm. So it being, and I think those 18 members, including the state, has actually said positive things about diversion programs in general. Okay. But the Promise program in Broward, has gone through some challenges, as Abby just mentioned. So the board had a very thoughtful discussion, and this is probably the third or fourth discussion of the last several months. The superintendent brought the recommendation to get rid of the Promise program here in Broward Schools. So unfortunately, we were one of only 2 school districts in the state that had duplicate programs in a circuit. So one, that's already an issue, right? You get off the radar. But number 2, the program that was in place probably need to be repealed. So the board, by a 7-2 vote, which includes, I'd just say D's and R's, right, did that. But resources are still provided for students who need it. Support services are still provided, for students who need it. But the Promise program, in terms of its name, no longer is in Broward County Public Schools. And
can I ask who the 2 dissenting votes were?
I'm going from memory. I think it was Board Member Holness, and I think the other might have been Board Member Leonardi.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say.
Dale
I think those are the 2.
No, Jeffrey Holness, but related, cousin.
Really?
Yeah.
Because he's on the commission, right?
He was. He resigned to run for CD20.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
And I took Dale's seat on the county commission.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I took the district seat. It's not his seat.
It's not his seat. No, it's the district. You took that.
That's right.
You kept that seat warm.
That's right.
You kept it going. Huh.
But no, Dale's a friend. He's good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what else on Broward County Schools?
So you said basically the public comment that it's kind of pretty equal as far as the dissenting views.
Yes.
Is it just a different type of parenting style, do you think? Is there some type of how do I want to say it? There's some people that take their kids, put them in public school, and want the public school to raise their children so that they don't have to. Yes. And then you have the overbearing parents that want to have strong control over, you can't do anything without my child or say anything to my child without my permission.
That's right.
And so I look at those as those kind of the 2 extremes.
That's right.
Where do the middle fall?
There's a balance. So look, I'm a product of Broward County Public Schools. I think 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and even 40 years ago, as I think about, my parents and grandparents and others who went through the school system, times have changed a little bit. Parenting styles have changed a little bit, right?
Bit.
Yeah.
But no, I think to your point, which is very fair, I think there is a middle ground. Clearly, I grew up knowing that there were conversations that only mommy and daddy should have with me, right? It should start with mommy and daddy. It should not be with my third grade teacher or my kindergarten teacher or my second grade teacher first. It should be with mommy and daddy. So I think just getting back to the basics. I'm old-fashioned. I'm old school. Going back to where we used to be, I think it worked. I think many of us are prime examples of that it worked. So that's what I would suggest. But the balance is, ensuring that, certain conversations, certain learning things are at home. But look, it's a village, right? I mean, I know, schools, it's a village, right? The nurse that's on campus, the custodian that's on campus, the greeter that meets you right before you walk into the office or the administration building, depending on your school site. So all of those people, employees, play so many vital key roles in the lives of our children. So if we get back to just being balanced, I think that we'll be okay.
I think that'll help. All right.
And you graduated from...
I'm a Blanche Ely Tiger.
I thought you were.
Yeah,
I thought you were.
Right here. Yeah, I'm in Pompano Beach. Actually, it's our homecoming this week. So on Saturday.
Who are you playing?
So I think we play Piper.
Okay.
The bingo. So my little ones have said, Daddy, we want to be in the parade. So
Aww.
We're going to walk in the parade on Saturday, and then we got a tailgate. And then I think I'll let them take a break because the football game is that night at 7 o'clock. But I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have a whole lot of time,
Yeah.
but I had a question on safety.
Yes.
So going back to that for a second, because I know last night in Palm Beach County, I'm not sure, and Ashley, if you're listening, if you can let us, drop a report on what happened with the, what are they called? Metal detectors.
Yes.
So Palm Beach County is proposing basically surveillance processes with microphones to pick up things by the bathrooms and very kind of kind of very invasive. So actually,
their THC levels.
Oh,
yeah, their THC levels, like stress levels, very
I hadn't heard that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it was something that was being introduced to be discussed. So I don't know if it was voted on last night.
Okay.
Last night, yeah, that was Wednesday. So what type of measures or what are you guys where you want to be for your safety platform or program for your district, or is there things that you're looking at trying to implement to create more safety protocols? What are your police school resource officers like? Is it a separate program like it is in Palm Beach County for those, or do you use the sheriff's office, stuff like that?
That is a fair question, and I had not heard about the Palm Beach initiative.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I'll use that word. So let me start with
we use
police.
That word a lot.
We use that word a lot.
Right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That's an interesting
That's
concept.
right. Very interesting. Let me start with the police department.
Okay.
So literally just a few months ago, I proposed that Broward County Public Schools needs its own standalone police department.
Okay.
I used to work down in Miami-Dade schools under a different superintendent who's now out in L.A., the second largest school district in the country. I was on his cabinet.
Good luck to him.
Oh, yeah. I worked for him twice. But we need to have our own police force.
So right now you use sheriff.
So right now we have various interlocal agreements with Broward Sheriff's Office, BSO,
and
our various cities, municipalities. And, of course, they do a fine job. However, we start talking about budget a little bit earlier in the conversation. The budgets have gone through the roof. So I think if we, Broward County Public Schools, if we can do this on our own, of course the startup costs are going to be, a little higher. But over time, it's going to be much cheaper for us to have our own police force trained under the direction and supervision of the board, which also was a criticism of the board in the grand jury report when it comes to school safety. So let me also say that I think Broward County Public Schools are safe. I want all parents to know that. But we are contemplating additional security measures, as all districts are. I saw Palm Beach, of course, do the pilot program for metal detectors that I thought went very well. I think from the reviews I saw.
The regular metal detectors,
that.
not like highly invasive ones that they're also considering right now.
That's right. And I know Broward, we've had a similar conversation. Also on Tuesday, I proffered another motion that passed 9-0, which talked about just this area. The legislature passed a bill recently that will allow additional funds to go to school districts for school safety. I recommended to the board, which they accepted, metal detectors, us doing a pilot program similar to what Palm Beach did. We should do the same in each of our regions here in Broward. Let's pick those schools, randomly, and let's see if it works. But I think we have heard overwhelmingly from the community at different town halls, different forums, that they want the physical standing metal detectors. Of course, we got the wanding detectors in many of our schools now, But I think those will also provide an extra level of assurance and safety for parents.
Are you gonna get rid of the no backpacks the last 2 weeks of school because of that? That was.
Wait, what?
They created a rule the last 2 weeks of school that students weren't allowed to bring backpacks.
Yeah. Oh, I heard that. What are they going to do with their books?
I know. So typically, I think that's more of a safety measure as well.
Right. Yeah.
Because typically the last week, this, right? There's some that just look to pick a fight that last day, last week. They've been holding it in all year, right? And they're going to wait for you to come out of the cafeteria. Yep. And I'm going to get you on the way to the bus line. So yeah, that's just another safety measure typically that our school police recommend as another layer. So since unfortunately clear backpacks, at least for me,
that's what it was.
Yeah, did not pass. I think that also failed 4 or 5. We're continuing to look for other ways that'll continue to make our schools even safer. But overall, on balance, all of our schools are safe. Now, do we regularly see, kids, unfortunately bringing weapons into schools? Yes, which is really, really sad. I mean, we've seen cases where a mom or dad, may leave a firearm in the backpack, which happens to get in the backpack of a second grader or a first grader. Yep,
Secure your firearms,
right.
people.
Or something will really bad happen to you.
Come on. Or take your R30 weapons training class, and then you'll remember not to do that.
That's right.
Thanks, Al.
Yep, there you go. Right. Yep, lock it up, keep it safe.
That's right.
Or you go to a place that has 4 letters. So yeah, overall, I think Broward schools, all of our schools are safe. Are we doing things to increase safety measures? Absolutely. And I'm going to always look for those ways on the board.
Awesome. That's good. Awesome. What else you guys got?
I'm good. I'm so overwhelmed with all of the information.
I know.
You are so,
I know.
Just your background and then just kind of hearing you tonight, I got totally educated on the school board system in these few minutes. This is one thing that I've personally kind of avoided in the realm of politics and things.
School board
is school board.
It's a lot.
Oh my
it's
gosh.
so much.
Yes.
And I'm one of those that I think I mentioned at our region meeting the other night. I'm like, I would be going to jail. I just could not.
It's a lot.
You're messing with my kids and you want to do these things to my kids that I don't think that is appropriate. But I'm also very balanced and level-headed. My parents didn't talk to me about sex and things of that nature. I had to rely on the school board, on the school system in order to do that. Right. And that was because my parents were just uncomfortable and didn't have the education or knowledge or of knowing how to have those conversations with their kids.
Right.
So it's I get kind of all of it and just, I'm just very thankful that my children are all adults and I don't have one in the school system now because I'm like, whew,
it's a lot.
Social media wasn't that big of a thing and things of that nature. And so that's my last question for this evening is how do you think social media plays into the education of our children?
Bigly. And I think I heard that from a prior presidential candidate. Bullying is a really, really big thing, unfortunately, in our schools, really at all grade levels. Social media, as we all know, didn't exist.
Thank goodness.
Not that long ago. That's right. So how we understand social media, how we understand AI, artificial intelligence, how we understand all of these apps that all of our kids and nephews and nieces and grandkids are using regularly will help us as a board do all the right things to protect them, but also expose them to what the future really holds. It's different now. It's a
Is there
different day.
anything part of that a part of the curriculum now, as far as social media, online chats, and things of that nature? Are we educating our children on how to use them, how they work, what the benefits are, what
absolutely,
risks?
Absolutely. So in the Student Code of Conduct handbook that every family gets and must sign once a year, that is a component of that handbook. So understanding school safety, understanding how to work online, understanding electronic media, understanding social media, the do's and don'ts of all those areas is all included in the Student Code of Conduct handbook. I think I did it when I was in school 20 years ago, and I know it's still around now. But no, absolutely, that is absolutely there.
I love hearing that.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It's really good.
And I'll just tell you, look, as I reflect on initially serving on the county commission and now the school board, I will tell you, I did not think the school board would be as in your face. And I think you've seen just everywhere, nationally, statewide, locally, things have just evolved with school boards. Look here locally, right? There is an article that you see on school board decisions and actions every other day, or once a week. Your county commission, you might see something once a month, right? Everyone is tuned in to schools like never before, which is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
I think the activism, the empowerment, the engagement from the community, the engagement from parents, I think that is the one positive thing I have seen, just over these last several years. And I hope it continues. And for those who are listening and watching, 2024 is important.
Yes.
We have so many, and I won't talk, politics, but, there are elections coming up even locally, right, with the school board. So all these issues that we've talked about, right, I encourage our listening public to explore all the candidates that we'll be announcing over time, right?
Who have not announced
Whoever
yet.
they are, right?
Wherever those
are.
candidates are.
4 seats or 5?
So there'll be 5. So
5.
the seat that's currently held by my brother and good friend, Daniel Foganoli, in District 1, that seat will be up. I am in District 2. My seat is up on the ballot. District 5. District 5, which is Wholeness, countywide, Hickson.
Now, why is Wholeness is up already?
Because it's he was doing the last remainder of the expired term of the board member who went to the Senate.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep,
Who went to the Senate?
Board member
Osgood.
Oh, okay.
Yep, she was on the board and then resigned, ran for the Senate. So then that opened up the seat that actually Daniel originally was a District 5 board member.
That's right. That's right.
I refer to Daniel as Daniel, if you're listening, as the senior statesman of the conservative caucus on the Broward School Board. That's always our joke. Yeah.
That's right. I forgot that his was a partial term.
That's right. He was partial, and then he got a second appointment from the governor. So kudos, Daniel.
Oh, no, I'm talking about Wholeness, like it only being a partial term.
That's right, partial.
Yeah.
And now he's back fully on. I mentioned my seat, the Hickson seat, and then board member Leonardi.
Yes.
So you have a total of 5 seats. So this is a big, big deal. In the words of a different person, a big effing deal without using the bleep. 5 of the 9 seats are up. So this is a majority of your school board. So for those listening, the listening public, parents, if you have someone in public schools, or if you have a niece or nephew, or just care about public schools.
I mean, you're a taxpayer. It's your largest taxing district.
That's right.
It's the school board. You should know where you should know how your tax dollars are being spent.
That's right. Learn about your school board members. Learn about your candidates, potential candidates. It's going to be really, really important.
All right.
Awesome.
Well,
thank you so much for your time this evening. You have been awesome, and I know I got educated, so I'm sure everybody out there has as well.
This was great.
You for your
thank
time.
you.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Torey has to leave us a little early tonight, so thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to say to the public?
This was great. Let's do it again.
All right.
Okay, absolutely.
I love it.
Sounds great.
Sounds great.
I'll
So,
come back anytime.
do you have any social media or any way anyone can follow you?
Yeah, so I am on
out?
X, I guess formerly known as Twitter. You're at Torey Alston. I'm on Facebook as well, Commissioner Torey Alston. But yes, I am. I appreciate the opportunity to serve the people of Broward County. Originally as a county commissioner, still serving on the school board, and I look forward to continued service in different capacities for the people of Broward and for the state of Florida.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for your service.
Very
we
much.
appreciate your
time.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Look at that.
So we're going to go to our other sponsor. So the renowned political scientist Larry Sabato once said, "Every election is determined by the people who show up." Well, in today's world, it's more like every election is determined by the people who get out the vote. Let's take it a step further, and we'll say it's those who chase the most ballots are who wins elections. Anyone who has participated, right, guys, in a political campaign organization knows that they're kind of disorganized. They can be fragmented, reactive. You have to deal with consultants, and who can be like a combination of used car salesmen and parasites on a rhino's rear end. Right? I mean, they're not so awesome. And they care more about funding for their corner office than they do about their candidate.
They get paid whether you win or lose.
They get paid no matter what. So that's what they care about. They don't care about the person winning office. This is where Salvo Journeys comes in. Salvo is a voter outreach platform that gives your political campaign, party, and PAC full control over voter outreach. It lets you do things like plan a campaign roadmap, strategize activities needed to generate candidate name ID, streamlining petition signing, reminding voters of important election dates, and of course, chasing ballots during the get out the vote period. Influencing voters is kind of like marketing, right? It takes at least 10 contacts for the voter to remember you. So how do you keep track of how you have contacted your voter, whether it by email, text message, door knocking, or direct mailers? All these contact points use different types of vendors, different processes, and it can be very confusing. Salvo solves this confusion by allowing you to target the right voter with the right message at the right time, all in one simple-to-use software. It unifies the fragmented tool sets to offer things like district information, campaign strategy milestones, voter data segmentation, contact timelines, reporting, and of course, voter outreach salvos. You can do things like text, email, door knock, all from one software, while it streamlines your campaign and leaves you more time to reach your voters. Salvo is cost effective because it eliminates the consultant and their vendor buddies, and it lets you go directly to your voter. You have 2 very affordable pricing options, month-to-month pricing plans for a do-it-yourself program, or you can hire a Salvo Journey Guide for a month or more to get yourself going and to coordinate your ground game. Tools such as texting, emailing, door hangers, and mailers are all at best in-market pricing. The 2024 election year is going to be hectic. It's already starting to get a little lit and crazy pants out there. So start planning your outreach now with Salvo Journeys. To learn more, you can go to www.salvo.today. It'll be linked below. And to create your account. We, the Locals listeners, get a free guided journey session to help you kickstart your campaign. Salvo Journeys, campaign victory, simplified. Awesome. So thank you, Salvo, very much for your sponsorship.
Yes,
it's great. We're very excited. I was actually talking about Salvo today with a group of people talking about campaign stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's great. So thank you very much.
I'd like to say we did receive a super chat just as Torey was on his way out. BSFLA said, gotta support my friends, $20 Rumble Rant.
Thank you. Yeah. We appreciate it. And I did mean to ask if anyone had any questions for Torey, but we ran out of time.
Well, there weren't any questions. I would have interjected.
Okay. All right. So if anyone does have any questions for him, please drop them in now. We can also, get in touch with them to get those answered for you.
Yeah.
So guys, what's new? How's it going?
Oh my goodness. It's been like, I think we said last one that I think our episode was like, on the 5th? And we were like, it's been a long month.
It's been a long month, and it's like...
It's still been a long month. It hasn't gone any faster.
Still true.
Although I'm having a hard time believing that I'm seeing Thanksgiving adverts.
I know.
Already.
I'm like, we're already in the, second half of October, and it's just crazy. And then I'm also realizing, like, there's no election season anymore.
It's year round.
It's just year round. And that kind of makes me sad because it's like, it's kind of nice to have that little bit of break where you're not focusing on all of this stuff. But then again, I'm like, this is how we got into this situation.
This is why we're here. This is what we do now.
I will say,
life.
like,
no, just kidding.
From what I've kind of witnessed or observed this year is, like, as Republicans, oh, that's Brian. I didn't realize that was Brian's.
Thanks, Brian.
I forgot his username.
For City Council, CT.
Brian Stenberg. Thank you, Brian.
Brian Stenberg.
I think a lot of, because it is an off election year, and, there were a handful of March municipals, but otherwise there really hasn't been a whole lot going on this year. I think people are getting, restless.
Yeah.
And angry or, salty. I like to use the word salty. And I think it'll be good to hit the ground running, starting with March municipals again at the beginning of the year, and then it'll be a full-on sprint through primaries and the general next year. But, yeah, it didn't really seem like we got much of a break.
I know.
Well, I don't know. I feel like other people probably got a break. I feel like we didn't because this is the world that we live in.
And I mean, we've been talking the last couple episodes. I'm still currently in an election.
Yeah,
I've got an election Monday night.
Yeah,
I'm
Vote
ready
for Abby.
Vote for Abby.
Yes. I'm ready. I'm ready to get this behind me. I'm confident that I will have the votes I need to win on Monday night. I've gotten a lot of support and a lot of responses to emails, text messages. A lot of positive phone calls. I'm making a lot of phone calls over the last 2 months. But I think people see the work that I've put in this year as treasurer and working side by side with our late chairman and just really being down in the day-to-day business of the party, running the organization. And they see that, I have that, high level view of like where we need to go and how we need to get there. And so I think that I'm confident that people will cast their vote for me on Monday night.
Awesome.
And it doesn't hurt to have people like Torey and other elected officials that came out, and endorsed me for the chair, and got a lot of support from the county elected officials, county and city, all levels.
That's awesome.
So got a lot of good people supporting me.
Well, you've put in a lot of work too previous to being the treasurer in Breck and stuff. Yeah. And so it's not like you're just been doing it so you can get to a certain point.
No,
You've been doing it to serve and to sow into that.
And I keep telling people, like, running for chair wasn't really on my 2023 bingo card. I mean, I ran for treasurer. That's like low man on the totem pole.
This is what I really wanted to do. I was not. This is not the goal that I had.
But
here we are.
It's kind of like in the Book of Esther, right?
Yep,
for such a time as this.
It's my favorite. My favorite line ever.
And it's just like, Tom asked me if I was willing to step up, and I said, I gave it some thought. I thought on it a couple months, and eventually, I'm like, okay, like if the need arises, obviously, I just really wish he could have beaten cancer.
Yeah.
But I said, I'll do it. I'll step up. I'll do it. I'll take the arrows because there's been arrows.
Oh yeah. Well, and then one of my mom's favorite sayings is always, God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called.
Yes, that's true.
So,
love
and
that.
that reminds me of something that I've repeated several times over the past 24, 36 hours. Like, ultimately, at the end of the day, being a believer, being a firm, solid Christian, like it's in God's hands. Like He knows what's going to happen, and if it's His will that I become the chair, then it's going to happen Monday night. And if it doesn't, then He has another plan for me.
In Hebrew, we say Yeh Ratzoncha. Let it be His will.
Yeah.
I say, give it to God, go where their love is, and screw everybody else.
That's not what you say. She's kidding. I didn't. Don't beat me.
I made it friendly. I don't say the screw part. I say something much worse, but it's all right.
That's okay. We're gonna not say that so we don't get kicked off of YouTube.
Is there anything that you want any voters to know that are on the fence, Abby?
Something that came up in a conversation I had either today or yesterday. I mean, the days just blur together, but I don't know. There may be some people, and they may or may not be listening to this, but like people don't realize that like after the election Monday night, we're both still going to be on the board.
Yes.
Like the loser doesn't get expelled.
It's not like you're going to take your toys and go home.
I mean, it could happen, but it's like I hope it doesn't happen.
Oh, so is yours the same as Palm Beach County where... Never mind. Yes. I don't even want to say it.
No.
I'm not going to say it.
We will have to have a second election for the vacancy.
Right. Oh, so because either way, you'll have to have a second election.
Yes.
Because both of you are on the board. Okay.
Correct.
See, that was what I was going to ask, but I was about to ask it in a way that I realized was probably not the right way to ask it. So either way, then you have to have a second election.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and it has to.
Do you have to do notice for that election?
Yes.
So you won't be able to have that election the night of. See, I think.
Yes, that's why I thought you stopped yourself.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the voters?
If for some reason I am not elected Monday night, I will 100%. I am committed to filling my term as treasurer, but I am very confident and hopeful that I have won the support of the majority of the membership. I think I have. Exercised a, level-headed, calm demeanor to this point in the year. Like I said, I have been involved all year in the running of the organization. I've interacted with a lot of the donors. I've been involved in a lot of the planning of, the earlier events. And I'm involved in the event planning for our upcoming Reagan Day dinner next month. Yeah, I think I am the best choice for chair because I have been involved all year. I have been running the organization with, the late Chairman Powers. My opponent is currently attempting to get up to speed because he was not involved all year. So that's
a bit of a handicap.
It's a bit of a handicap, yeah. And so that's all I got to say about that.
All right. Well, Jess, what's new with you?
Vote for Abby.
Vote for Abby.
Thank you.
In
Palm Beach
over here. Yeah. So in Palm Beach County, Tuesday's going to be a big day because we do the Board of County Commissions in their zoning comp plan meeting votes on the GL land swap.
Yes.
So this is a huge thing. This is a huge call to action. If you have not emailed your county commissioners and asking for your voice to be heard, please do so. And, you know, I think since the last episode, a few things have kind of come to light, and I know that we've kind of talked about it a little bit outside of the podcast. But for those that may only listen to the podcast, I just kind of want to bring you up to speed. Is so with the GL land swap, and this is just to remember that there is acreage in North County, like way North County, like north
La land.
Yeah, like
No
Indian
offense,
Trails
guys, up there.
District, you know, like north of Westgate, way north of Lion Country Safari. It's like the tippy top of our county. There's 1,600 acres up there that they want to swap. That's already been allowed to be able to be built on.
They already have approval and everything to build a development there.
Yes. And so now, instead of that, they want to take acreage that is down in South Palm Beach County in the Boca Raton line, which is pretty much almost the southern tip of 441 and Clintmore, and they want to build 1,200 homes that are going to be approximately $1.2 million each, and is it 270 for workforce,
something like that,
housing? It's like 274, something like that. It's just a little over 250.
Yeah, some workforce housing.
That is going,
which will be like a multifamily home,
right?
Townhome, something like that.
And so what happened is that GL owns both of these lots of land, but this one that's in 441 near Clintmore is in reserve. They have already locked that land aside for reserve, saying we're not going to build on this, when they purchased other land and did other developments. And so they are asking for a favor from the county commission, asking them to change the rules so that they can, instead of doing that development in the North County, they want to develop in the South County. And what we found out is this 1,600 acres in the North County, 800 of it is going to be used for this water project. So we don't even get a full 1,600 acres of reserve land. They're already forcing the issue that 800 of that will be the water project, which I don't think a lot of people know and understand that part. So I thought that was very interesting. The traffic in South County on 441, State Road 7 is what it's also called, is already background failing, meaning that it's already at gridlock in the peak PM hours. And so when you're adding, 1,000 plus homes, it's 1,200 homes. And then they've also wanted to do a Jewish school, a synagogue,
and a park. Which, by the way, they're only donating the land for the park.
That's right.
They're not going to do anything for the development of the park. Palm Beach County does not have money in the parks budget to build the park. But up north, to sweeten the deal, they are going to be donating land to the county to do an ATV park that they will build. But they're not going to build the park for us in South County. And the last time this happened, when GL did this and gave a park to the county up in Boynton, I think the land deal went through in early 2000s, and the park just finished its first phase. So it's going to probably be 20 years before Palm Beach County can even look at having to develop the park. In the meantime, they're going to have to keep up the land, mow it, keep it, all the things. So it's going to cost us money for their donation of the park.
Right. And then they're not going to manage the water project either. So they're going to build it, but they're not going to manage it.
They're going to turn it over.
They're going to turn it over to the county. Well, the county doesn't do water. South Florida Water Management District deals with water. And so they're not chopping at the bit for this water project either. So there's a lot of things, and I've been hearing that, well, I want an ATV park. That's great that you want an ATV park. You can still get an ATV park without this deal.
Yes.
It can still happen. But the way that you're asking for this ATV park, it really is kind of, I'm just going to say crappy, because of the way of that you're forcing all of the development on the south end and the South County, and you're literally causing a divide between our counties. So it's going to be like the Smiths, the Smiths versus the Joneses type of things. Hatfield
and McCoys. That's who I was thinking of.
I'm thinking of. Yeah. So it's like the Hatfields and McCoys of this.
Ooh, I never thought of it like that.
This separation
kind of is doing that a little bit,
definitely,
because it's really annoying because we get nothing.
Right, because the people in the north want the development in the south because they don't want the traffic, they don't want the development, they don't want the stuff.
They don't want
it
to impact their infrastructure. They don't care that the fact that South County is already full.
Yeah,
there's no more land to develop. They've got plenty of land up north to develop.
And our traffic is already failing.
Our traffic's already failing. And not only that, this is the thing that grinds my gears a lot too. Sorry, I cut you off.
No,
but,
you're fine.
GL is sweetening the pot by saying we're going to give the school and the synagogue and stuff. Well, there's no guarantee that can get built. So I hope this gets out to the Jewish community, because for them to have a hope in GL that they're going to now get this land to build a school.
Oh, they'll probably get the land.
They'll get the land, but it's highly unlikely that the school will be allowed to be built, permitted to be built, because, again, I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm not speaking, but just by nature of how these things go. Because if traffic is already failing, how are they going to have a school there where they're going to have school zones, where they're going to have car line pickup? There's no place to have a car line pickup. And they're putting the school on a part of the property that is not conducive to having a school. This is where they're designating for the school to be. So there's a very good chance that the county won't even be able to approve of the school to be built on this property just by zoning laws because of traffic laws. So they're promising that. They're using this as a carrot to dangle before the community. The community is then contacting the county commissioner saying, we need a school, which they do. I'm not minimizing the fact that the Jewish community the Orthodox community here is the fastest growing Orthodox community in the world. So not minimizing the fact that they do need this, but this is not the place to have it. And the fact that GL is playing on the emotions and then using that to then contact the commissioners and say, well, we need this, when it might not even get built. There's no guarantee.
Right.
It's so yucky. It's so yucky.
It's just kind of gross all the way around. And then you have 441, which is a state road, State Road 7. It's not even on the FDOT 5-year plan.
So who knows when it'll get widened.
So it's like you are literally fueling the issue and problem that we're already having and basically putting a match to it and lighting it on fire. And because of these, sweeteners, and like, I understand, if you're in North County and you're used to your ruralness and the type of quality of life, and yeah, I'm sure an ATV park sounds fun and something that would be really exciting, and I get it. I mean, I'm a girl from Michigan in the middle of the woods. Like, we snowmobiled, we four-wheeled, all of that kind of stuff. But it doesn't mean that in order to have that or to be able to get that you have to sacrifice South County. And what I don't that's what I think that a lot of people in this scenario miss, is that they don't realize that for them to get what they want to maintain their quality of life, they're taking that from another section of the county.
Yeah.
So it's not just like, like I have land here and I have land here and I'd rather have land, build there. It's not quite that, cutesy. It's definitely not cutesy. It's
cutesy time's over.
Hey,
cutesy time's over.
$25 Rumble rant from Baba Bell. No swap.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
And Brian also chimed in and said, I hear county staff is now recommending that BCC not approve.
Yeah.
You'll see on
TBD
Tuesday.
on Tuesday.
TBD on Tuesday.
Yeah. So it's
Wait, Brian, how are you hearing that?
Yeah.
Where'd you hear that from?
So come back to the coffee clutch, Brian.
Tell us. How did you know? How do you know that?
So it's very interesting how this is all coming together. It's very we use that word interesting again.
Interesting.
Notice that.
When does the agenda? when does the agenda come out?
It's out.
It's already out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and just to clarify too, it's under the zoning
Yes.
agenda. It's not under the regular. So if you do want to come to the meeting and be heard, it's Tuesday, October 24th, starting at 9:30 a.m. Do come early to get a parking spot. Try to carpool. Bring snacks. Highly recommend.
Can you sign up for public comments in advance or when you get there?
No, it's when you get
You
there.
can get a card as you're coming in. You go through security. There'll be cards on the wall, and it says public comment card. You write your name. If you would like to give your public comment, you can write a speaking and then give it to. They'll ask someone. I'm sure you'll see lots of people doing it. And then if you just want it to be read into the record, you don't want to do a public speech, but you want your comment to be put in, you can put not speaking, and you can write your comment on the card, and it will be read into the public record.
Yeah.
Or it should be.
Right.
Sometimes they just submit them, which is annoying.
Right. So we do anticipate a lot of public comment on this, which is highly encouraged just because we want to make sure that the only voice on that day is not just GL doing their presentation.
Yes.
We want to make sure that the no votes are properly represented and their voices to be heard.
Bet that it's going to be snazzy.
Oh,
GL presentation.
Oh,
GL's
yeah.
presentation is
It's
going to
be all full of bells and whistles.
Oh, yeah.
Brian said Randy Schultz today in the Boca Mag.
Oh.
He must have had an article.
I missed that one. Yeah. If
And
he could
Baba
drop it
Bell
out.
also said, see ya at the no swap zone Tuesday.
Listen, and I said this last time, I think, when we talked about this, this is an issue that can bring all of us together. We have the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's a very old Arab saying, and I hate to say that because it's not we're enemies. We want to be friends. But in this situation, we are partnering with ultra crazy liberals.
That's true.
Moderate Democrats, Republicans, obviously. And this is an issue that brings us all together that really exemplifies what it means to live in a community of neighbors together where we disagree on a lot of things, but we can come together on issues that are important to our quality of life and to build that connection. So when there's actually a few things. I mentioned this the other night for those who were at our South County REC meeting, where in Boynton, the Republican commissioner on the Boynton board brought forward an environmental support project for rebuilding, like building reefs out in the ocean to help preserve ocean life. And so there's a common misconception that Republicans hate the environment. And I think that this is hoping to dispel that we don't hate the environment, that we don't love the environment more than we love ourselves. We're not, over there with that level, but
we take care of the earth and the earth takes care of us.
God says in Genesis that he gave us dominion over the earth to take care of it. It is something that we are supposed to be good stewards of.
Yes.
And we want to show that to our community, that just because we're Republicans, that we still care about our community. We care about being stewards of the earth and taking care of the environment that God gave us.
Yep.
That's right. That's my pitch.
That's right.
So I want to talk about a really, really hard-hitting, crucial subject. Pickleball.
Oh yeah, pickleball. Thank you. See, I didn't even look at my note. I was going to totally forget.
I saw it across the table.
Okay, so it's good. I wrote my note.
So you're saying there was some sort of pickleball discussion at the city council meeting?
No, it wasn't city council meeting. So we got to. Jessica and I attended it was a round table discussion on sports, the sports commission in Palm Beach County, and sports and business, and how sports brings in so much revenue because of bed taxes and all of these things. And there's tons. I mean, what did he say? How many sports did he say in Palm Beach County? 100 and something sports?
Well, I mean, you guys got polo,
right,
you've got tennis.
So actually,
you've got
equine is the largest.
Yeah. You guys are fancy.
We're so fancy up in Palm Beach County, up in Wellington. And so, but he said, he's like, what do you think is the fastest growing sport? And everyone in the room was pickleball. So, because we hosted the National Pickleball something championship.
I think my sisters are hooked, and my youngest sister was watching it on live stream.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh! So this is a
shout out to Allie.
That's right. So it's not just that it's bringing revenue for bed taxes and things like that, and restaurants and all of the different things when we have all of these tournaments here.
Yeah.
But it's also these are being broadcasted around the world, and so it's advertising for Palm Beach County for Boca. This was held in Boca Raton, so they focused a lot on the college sports feeding into the professional sports and little league sports, and we have two major stadiums in Palm Beach County that host spring trainings with national MLB teams, and just all of the the international Little League championships are in Palm Beach County. And it was just interesting. So so pickleball, that everyone in the room got so excited when we talked about pickleball.
So I had never played before Labor Day weekend, and then
a month and a half ago.
Yeah. So my youngest sister Allie, she joined my church has cadet groups, like small groups, a couple times a year, and there was a pickleball group this fall, and so she's been playing pickleball with the group, and she's like, she bought a set of 4 paddles, and and she's so my parents' neighborhood has tennis courts, has always had tennis courts ever since we lived there, or they lived there, and they converted the middle 2 courts to where there's removable pickleball nets, and so there's 4 pickleball courts now on the 2 tennis courts.
Have there been any complaints about noise? Because that was a thing that came up at Stu likes to remind me of.
Yeah,
came up at a Boca Raton City Council meeting about the noise that the pickleball.
It sounds like a shotgun, and they have to duck and
like
cover.
A wiffle ball.
Duck for cover.
It's basically tennis with a wiffle ball. No, I mean their courts are kind of like back behind a wooded area and on the lake in the middle of the neighborhood.
So not like by the houses.
It's not like right next to the houses.
See, and I don't know if these are next to the houses. But
now
I claim they
in
were.
Lighthouse Point, they just put in pickleball courts when they completed the work at Dan Witt Park with the John Trudell Community Center, which was like grand open in February. They did put 4 pickleball courts in the front. But I mean, I think you can only play till like 8:00 at night. So
and they cut it off because no one wants to have shotgun
But
sounds.
let me tell you, so we mostly play in my parents' neighborhood because it's nice, because it's gated and like only so many people can have access. And so we never have to wait for court. And so me and my sisters went to Dan Witt in Lighthouse Point one Friday night at like 6, 7 o'clock. And like they had this whole system where you had to like put your paddles in the slot to like reserve your place in line. And we didn't know. And so we're just standing in line thinking that we were like waiting for a court. And there's like there were some people waiting and they were like super competitive. Like, oh no, you didn't put your paddles in the slot. Like you're not in line. And we're like, And then like if there's people waiting, you're only supposed to play to like 1 game to 11 points, and then get back off and then get back in line to wait again so everybody can play. Well, there were some people that were not following that rules, and then other people were getting very upset about it. And I'm just like, this is too stressful. I'm just going to keep playing in my parents' neighborhood.
Oh my gosh. So that's one reason. So it's funny that you say that because that became very, very popular during the pandemic. Like it's really exploded. That's when okay. I think that's when it did. So there was this one time that I went to that when I was campaigning for city council, I did a lot of because there was no community meetings. There was nothing for me to go to because everything was early 2021. So I had these like meet and greets at the parks because I took my kids to the playgrounds. I grabbed boxes of pizza. I had a pizza place that would like donate pizza and stuff, and I just like hang out and talk, just wander around the park and talk to people because there's no other way to meet people. And so at one point I walked over because it was at a park it just opened right before the pandemic, so it's all brand new, very nice. And I walked over to the pickleball courts and they were like happening. There's paddles all lined up on the wall. I was like, can someone explain to me like what is going on? I brought them some pizza, and I actually during that I got a phone call from the guy who's in charge of the like pickleball organization here to find out my opinion on pickleball during the campaign. I was like, oh, I don't know. I think it's great. I think it's great. Everybody should be playing sports. I don't know.
When I was running last year, like I got a call from one of the Lighthouse Point residents, and he's like, hey, I just need to know, like, what is your position on like the termination or the retention of the tennis center director? I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
I love those questions.
And I'm just like,
That's a great question. That is an interesting question. Let me get back to you on that.
I am learning so much about that topic.
I don't have an opinion just yet. I'm forming it now, but let me get your contact info and I'll follow up with you.
Commissioner John Brody says hi.
Oh, hi.
And I'd like to say a belated happy birthday to him.
Happy birthday.
I actually celebrated his birthday with him and a group of people on Tuesday night.
When was his birthday?
Tuesday.
Oh, my birthday was Thursday.
Oh, yeah, and happy birthday, Jessica.
Oh, happy birthday. I must have missed that on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, turned big old 46 last Thursday.
Whoop.
Womp, womp.
No, that was like, woo. I don't know. I'm 28, so I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Whatever.
Thank you.
All right. So I wanted to throw out there did did you have? I see you have your notebook out. Did you want to say anything before I jump into?
Well, you had mentioned pickleball, and I didn't realize it, but one of our up and coming sports in Palm Beach County is the Spartan race as well.
Oh, I've done the Spartan. Wait, not in Palm Beach County. I've done it in Miami-Dade, and I've done it in Broward, but not.
So
in Palm Beach.
they're a big influence on that.
I need to get back in shape for it then.
And
Brody says I'm only 31. LOL.
Sure, and I'm 28. Exactly.
Yeah, so I just thought that was interesting because I had no idea. And amateur and tennis is another one that's kind of up and coming.
Oh yeah,
so,
amateur tennis.
Yeah, so I just thought that was really interesting, and how much that I just want to just kind of also notice at this forum that they did, they gave such shout outs to the county.
Yes, they did. They were very happy to be working with the county on a lot of things.
Yeah, and that the county has really been able to grow and get in a lot of funds because of the sports and everything that they've been investing in. So, which I wasn't really aware of. So that was pretty cool and awesome
now,
to kind of hear.
Are the sports like enterprise funds? Like, are they kind of like
bed taxes?
Okay. They come
so
through the
bed
taxes.
tax is if you pay for a hotel or Airbnb stay in Palm Beach County, you pay your sales tax, and then there's also a bed tax. Those bed taxes go to the county to be used for nonprofits as well as sports commission projects.
And there's something else that's funded off of that. Too,
I can't remember, but those are the two big.
I just want to give some Broward flavor to the sports conversation.
Do it.
Do you know what sport that is actually like Broward is known for having a venue for?
Swimming.
No. Well, they do all of those things, but no. At one
Sport
point in
fishing.
time, at one point in time, Broward County had the only cricket stadium in the United States, and they won. They won the opportunity to host some of the ICC competition next year. The 20, I think it's like. Are you guys familiar with cricket at all?
Nope.
So
I know they do a funny run with the thing.
In my former life, when I was in public accounting with Deloitte, I had the opportunity to travel over to India 3 different times for like 6 weeks at a time. Yeah. We had an office in
Things
Hyderabad.
I didn't know about Abby.
Yeah. That and depreciating landfills. I mean,
know, man. Deloitte gave you a lot of stuff.
Yes. I have many, many war stories. But no, I got to travel to India. They'd put me up on a really nice hotel for 6 weeks in Hyderabad, India. I'd work with the team on the ground, but like there was, so much culture over there. It's such a unique country.
I'd love to go to India.
I'd go back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But no, so like I grew up playing softball. I played, 6 years of varsity softball because I went to private school, and then 2 years of college softball. And then I had the chance to play cricket once over there. They had this like expat league. All of us like Americans trying to play cricket.
Oh my gosh.
I whiffed at that because they throw it overhand.
Yes,
like
but they like run and like
skip.
the
pitcher, the bowler. They call them bowlers, not pitchers.
Yes, that's true.
They take like a running start and they throw it, and then the ball bounces before
it has
the
to have one
batsman,
bounce, right?
Before the batsman, yes. And it's like a wide paddle, and
they have it's almost like a golf swing.
It's kind of like a golf. Yank my wire out there. It's like a golf swing. I could never get it, but I was pretty good in the outfield or whatever they call it. I can't remember what the area was.
If you know what they call, drop it in the comments.
But
I'm
they
curious. Without looking it up. Challenge.
They they don't play with gloves.
No, they
and the
don't.
ball is.
Is it big? I've never seen it in person. I've only seen it on like Bennett like Beckham.
It's been a few years. Bennett like Beckham. Oh, they did play some cricket in there. Yeah.
My frame of reference.
I think it's about the size of a tennis ball, but it's hard.
Okay.
Maybe a little bigger.
Is it like a baseball hard?
It's pretty hard. I'm like, you guys catch this with your hands all the time, like bare hands. You don't use a glove. But anyways, so I actually went. So the cricket stadium in Broward is in
back to
It's in Lauderhill. It's in Lauderhill. It's
Okay.
right at like Sunrise and 441. Not too far from the swap shop, if you're familiar.
Oh yeah.
And one of my Deloitte friends that actually served as an expat for like 2 years in India, when she came back off of her rotation, her expat rotation, she actually transferred to the Miami office. So she lived near me for a couple years, and she's like, hey, they're having like a college cricket tournament at the Lauderhill Stadium. Would you want to go watch? I'm like, oh, sure. This was like back in 2012.
Oh my gosh, that's so fascinating. I know we have cricket in Palm Beach County now.
Oh, it's huge in like the Caribbean community. Like in addition to like,
Which would make sense because a lot of those were colonized by Britain.
Yeah.
And it's a British game.
I remember like growing up in Parkland, like going by this park on Riverside in Coral Springs. every Sunday there'd be people out there in their like cricket whites. Like they kind of
and don't they wear like
they were like
the
batsmen, they were like almost like catcher gear,
Yeah.
like shin guards and stuff. But like they dress like the traditional wear is like almost like a white sweater and pants.
Seems so dumb.
Well, it's a colonial sport.
That's true.
It's a colonial. It's a British colony
and
sport.
they always wore light white clothes
But
that were very impractical. That
learning the sport and all the rules and everything was like I
so
still don't
interesting.
understand all of it, but I'd be like working out in the gym at the hotel when I was over there, and they'd be playing games, and the traditional games take like days.
Really?
Yeah, but like I think the one that's coming to the U.S. next year is going to be
We should go watch the cricket
2020.
games.
They call it 2020, and it's like 20 overs, which is like kind of like innings.
Okay.
So it's a much faster paced game.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we know? I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm going to guess that Highlight in Miami is probably the only probably the only Highlight in South Florida. Is there Highlight?
Dania Highlight, I think it's still open.
Do they have one in Dania?
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
I mean, when I think of Highlight, Miami does have it, but when I think of Highlight, I think of Dania Beach.
I would love to go watch a Highlight game.
Yeah, we should.
A lot of fun.
We should.
We should
Like
go
that'd
do
be
that.
like a throwback to the
We
70s.
let's go explore some stuff and go watch some Highlight games.
Yeah.
I think I love sports, and I think that it's such a great way to bring the community and stuff together. It like helps you like channel all of your energy and all of your anger and all of that kind of stuff when you're like in just like healthy competition. And voting for your home team, or rooting rooting for your home team. I should say.
Yeah, and as a lifelong athlete, there's so many life lessons that you learn playing sports and playing on a team. I mean, I know now we're spectators, but
don't have to be.
No, I mean,
We should play kickball. Let's add something more to our plate, guys.
I can't add anything more. I need to start saying no more.
I know. I said no to something today. I told my husband, I'm like, you need to be very proud of me. I said no to something, and he was like, I'm good job.
Yeah.
I was like, thanks.
No, there's definitely things that are
What
coming
you said
to
no to, I probably said yes.
No, I'm not going to let you say yes to. I'm going to say we have to have boundaries.
Okay.
Yeah, boundaries are important, and there's things that I am pushing off my plate for 2024 to make room for the things
Because
that
you're
are
about to become chair of one of the largest counties in the county.
That's right.
state.
In state.
Yeah.
Woo. Okay,
County
so I
in the
wanted to
county.
get something out there real quick before we wrap up. So it's kind of an encouragement. And again, those of you who might have been attending the regional meeting heard me talk about this. Jessica and I were kind of talking about the importance, and we harp on this a lot, of attending your local municipal meetings. I kind of want to break it down and make it practical, as when I've attended like some of these meetings in city council, and especially in Boca, I feel like the meetings in Boynton and Delray are actually much more well attended by the community.
Okay.
There have been times where I've been sitting in a city council meeting in Boca, and it is me and the developers and Brian.
Yep.
And lawyers.
Yep.
And that's it. And when the city council members, while they do hear from the public, because they talk about, I spoke to a member of the public the other day, or blah, 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 they're not seeing us at these meetings.
Yeah.
They're not seeing that someone is watching them. And that is important for elected officials, to see that the public is engaged, and we don't just show up when something is being built in our backyard that we don't want.
Yeah.
We need to show up when they're discussing comprehensive plan changes, or when they're discussing super boring things. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, sometimes these meetings are incredibly boring.
Yeah.
And they're using acronyms that I don't know. And it can go, and I'm sitting there asking Brian, what does this mean? Brian, what does that mean? And he and I are figuring stuff out, trying to understand. I mean, he obviously knows a lot more than I do, but still, there's those things. And then they're talking about an issue, an agenda item that might have been on the agenda, been ongoing for 6 months. And if you attend a city council meeting, you might not have any idea what's going on, because they're talking about stuff that has a history that you don't know the history to. Yeah. So it is challenging. However, it is so important, because when they see that the public is there and they're watching, then they're going to be held. They're going to say, someone's watching me. Okay, I know that they care about what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, one of the things that I have seen is I do believe that, right or wrong on a lot of opinions that a lot of these representatives have on the councils, they all care about the cities.
Yeah.
They care about the people. They care about it. They might make decisions in that caring that I disagree with. That's obviously going to happen. But it's important that they see that we care just as much. And so it can be daunting, but city councils for Boca, Delray, and Boynton are once or twice a month, depending on the city. So if you can connect with a friend of yours that's in the city and say, let's tag team. You go on the first Tuesday and I'll go on the third Tuesday. There's workshop meetings also, if you're able to attend those. They stream them online so you can watch them later.
That's where a lot of the discussions happen.
That's where a lot of the discussions. So workshops, for those of you who don't know, a workshop meeting is a non-voting meeting that the councils have, because don't forget, all of them are bound by sunshine laws, so they're not allowed to discuss anything that could be even on the agenda down the road. So if they have an idea for something that they want to bring to the city, they can't just call up the other council member and say, what do you think of this idea? Can we add it to the agenda? They have to do it in sunshine, so they have to do it at a workshop meeting. So commissioners have workshop meetings, councils have workshop meetings where they discuss new ideas. They get presentations from staff about things. They can call a staffer and say, hey, I would like to look into XYZ. Can you do that and bring a presentation to the workshop? And then they can decide, okay, we like this. Let's put it on the agenda for further discussion and voting. So a lot of the work that gets built. So when we look at things on the agenda, some of those things are likely going to get passed because the discussions on them have been had for multiple workshop meetings or like.
And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
Is it's like, you can look at an agenda and it can be 100, for the county, it can be 100 pages, and like 50 of it or 60 of it could be just on consent. And usually it's because they've had discussions on a lot of these things in the past. And so it's easier for them to just be like, oh, okay, this was the discussion, this is where it led, this is where it's leaning towards, so we're going to put it on consent. Or that, it gets voted on very quickly when it's put on the regular agenda, because a lot of people will look at it and say, like, they'll bring an item to the table and a motion will get passed and then it's voted on very quickly. So a lot of people are like, wait a minute, what just happened? Like, there was no discussion, there was no anything about it. And that's because the discussion usually happens in these workshops and things of that nature.
And I think that just goes to reiterate what we've been discussing for the past couple months now, is that, like, we have to be paying attention all year round.
And that's the my whole point in bringing this back. And we have to be paying attention year round. We need to be looking at these things. And a quick example of this, and then I'll stop, is it's a Live Local Act, which we've talked about before. You can go back in past episodes to see us talk about that. Boca Raton was struggling on how to implement it into our ordinances here. And there were workshop meetings and city council meetings on this topic that went for hours. I think I sat through one day of meetings that were 10 hours. I was there from 1:30 to 10:30 through a workshop meeting in this process. When it came down to the vote, when they finally worked it out, when they voted on it this last week, 5 minutes. There was no discussion because they had already had it.
And what did they vote to do?
They voted basically to adopt the 40% ordinance into the
so that it matched the state law.
So that it matched the state law. So they haven't done anything on the 10 to 15%, which is the whole other thing, which we'll talk. I was going to bring that up at our next episode.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, point being is if you just came to that meeting, you would have thought, oh, okay, that's not a big important conversation because they took 5 minutes to make the decision. Well, they've been talking about it for, I would say, on that specific subject, has probably had at least 5 hours of conversation between all of the meetings.
And I will say that, like, on my tour of public budget hearings last month, like that was brought up at both the school board and the commission, that, like, well, we've been talking about these things, in our comprehensive planning, in our budget workshops. We've had multiple workshops, and it's like, on one hand, like, I get it. You've got to be tuned in. But on the other hand, like, especially when it comes to county commission and school board, their meetings are usually during the day when most of us are working.
Everything is recorded.
Yes.
And just here's a practice. While I'm doing dishes, I put on meetings sometimes, and I listen to either podcasts or meetings. I'm like, oh, I haven't listened to this meeting. I'm going to listen to it while I'm doing something else. So there's ways to do it. Obviously, going to the meetings, I think, especially if it is your municipality, I think is very important, because once in a while, at least, because then it helps the council members know who you are. So when you do speak up and say something, they're like, oh, this person's been here. They're invested. I'm going to listen to them. And not that I don't think that they don't listen to the rest of the people, but I think just in people in general, we listen to people who we know more.
I think is what happens is that when people go to do their public comment, when you're a council or a commissioner, that person isn't really talking like they're educated in the issue. Yeah. And so it's very hard to take somebody seriously when they're only saying like half of the situation, or like I don't want to say that they're lying, but they don't fully understand it to a way that it's like, well, if you knew all of the information that I knew, you would look at that a little bit differently.
And there's some of it that we can't know, but like I'll give one more example. So like I was at the budget meeting for Boca, and they raised our beach passes by $10, and I had an issue with that because while it's only $10, they raised it $10 the year before. And so it's gone up $20 in 2 years.
Yeah.
So when you look at the percentage, it's very, very high. So, and I also have a couple of other things with the beach pass. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to say something. And so I went up and I said it. And I don't know all the nuances of how they made of why they got to that, because I don't know the beach and parks budgets and all of that. That's, again, we're getting into so many things there. But the point is I did know my percentages. I said, this is how much it's going up by percentage wise. This is how much it went by percentage wise the year before. Yeah. And while it's not a lot of money, you're going to sit there and say it's Boca. People can afford $10. But it's the principle of the matter. If we're looking at what inflation's hitting everywhere, like why? And we already pay a tax.
People are going to cut out that expense.
Right. Yeah. People are going to say, we can't buy. We haven't bought our beach pass yet because it landed in October. We had some extra expenses. We're going to have to wait till next month to buy our beach pass. Is that, and I mean, it's not, we're going to get it. It's just, so anyway, that's my soapbox. If you would like to know more about attending these city council meetings, please contact us through the We the Locals contact information. I'd be happy to attend one with you if that would help, going with someone. But we really need to start doing this more. Yeah, that's my soapbox for the night.
Well, everybody have a good night. Be sure to check out our sponsors, Salvo.today or our 30 agency. You can email us at WeTheLocalsFL at gmail.com. Check out our website at WeTheLocalsPodcast.com. And everybody have a great night and stay local.
Yeah. Bye.